So why did men stop perming their hair? When you think about a great head of hair on a guy, what do you think of? They think of men with curly, full head of hair. Often seen in the Mediterranean region on the Greeks. You have these fabulous dark heads of thick, curly hair. You can go back to the frescoes in Rome and Greece and the statues, and what do they all have in common? Curly hair. It seems to be the popular style. Yes, indicative of the culture for the most part, but nonetheless immortalized for us all to see today are those luscious, thick heads of hair. It's been a beauty standard for a long time for guys. Moving forward into the 17th century, 18th century, curly hair was all the rave again. I was going to say it was all the wave again, but this time in the form of wigs. You had Louis XIV as well as Charles II of England, each sporting wigs that defied size and explanation, but also full of curls. To get a curly hair style, if you did not have curly hair, if you weren't born genetically from types of the world, say in Africa or around the Mediterranean where curly hair is just genetic, you would have to come to wearing rollers in your hair. I've done that myself, but that's not really a permanent solution, is it? Did you know that the perm was actually because of the permanent wave? A lot of people don't actually put the two together, that a perm is short for permanent wave. It was actually Carl Nessler at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century who devised a way with chemicals as well as electricity forming heat to actually make hair permanently curled. It's a little daunting if you look at these pictures. I can't imagine sitting there for the process, and they actually say that there's a price for beauty. I don't know if I would be willing to pay it, but women flocked to doing this in the 1920s. It was actually Marjorie Stewart in 1928 who actually streamlined the system and actually has the first patent for the permanent wave. And she's also known for being the first Black woman to actually hold a U.S. patent. And it was all for beauty. Did men do this? No. It was actually in the late 1930s that Arnold Willett would develop the cold wave. Up until then, it was heat provided by the electricity that as part of the chemical reaction that caused the hair to be permanently curled. And that is the wave that we associate with most perming done today. Yeah, there's a little heat with the hairdryer or wearing a cap to actually contain some of the heat, but for the most part, it is a chemical reaction on the hair, and it is done without heat and without electricity. Thus, the cold wave. The style became really popular actually in the late 70s, and you can actually kind of blame that on Farrah Fawcett, who started wearing her hair in abundant curls and coming up with that style that we know as the Farrah Fawcett. Women started emulating this hairstyle, and to make the hairstyle last, women would start getting body waves. And so women would get a loose curl, and that would actually help your hair to hold the curls that were put in to achieve that style. Fast forward, women stopped just curling their hair like Farrah Fawcett and started wearing the permed hair that they were wearing. In the 80s, everyone I knew, my sisters, every woman I knew in college, everyone was getting a perm. I myself got a perm in 1979. The Saturday after I graduated from high school, I was brave enough to take a gift certificate that my aunt gave me, and I got a body wave. That was the style at the time, the likes of Tony Morano from Saturday Night Fever. And men started doing that. Men started in the 80s getting a body wave. And therefore, the perm took off even for men. Men stopped actually with the body wave, just like women did, and started wearing their hair more curly. And you saw the afro being worn by men in the 80s. What also was happening at the time, because of MTV and the music video, you would see metal bands sporting really big perms at the time. Think of John Bon Jovi, Twisted Sister, Metallica. All these groups, the hair bands of the 80s, all had very large spiral perms at the time. I myself got a spiral perm. I actually have very few pictures of my hair down. I elected to wear my spiral perm back in a ponytail, but my hair was big because I wanted to look like Slash from Guns N' Roses. That was the look that I was going through at the time. What killed the perm? The perm was killed by the thing that killed the mullet. It was grunge. It was the birth of a type of music that seemed a little more thrasher, a little more less sweet. The advent of grunge music and the 90s would usher in a return to smooth hair, natural hair, and men would stop perming their hair. It was also at the same time that men would start going back to the barber shop, favoring shorter cuts. Pretty much the perm was dead. Right? We are seeing a small resurgence of the perm in the form of the broccoli head. The broccoli head is that haircut that a lot of high school and young college guys are wearing. So that haircut works really well if you have naturally curly hair. Once again, probably the Mediterranean types are most likely wearing that, guys with naturally curly hair. If you want to get that look, a lot of high school boys and college guys are actually perming their hair to actually get the look of the broccoli cut. Very popular look for high school kids right now, and the perm will help a guy with straight hair get that look. Is the perm dead, or do you think it'll catch on? I wonder, these guys with this haircut, very particular, will they take this haircut into college? Will guys be wanting to wear this haircut as they move into the workforce? Time will only tell. I think it's an iffy situation. Would you ever perm your hair? Have you permed your hair? I'm very curious, especially being gray. I have visions of it looking like Mama's Family if I permed my hair, so it's probably out of the question for me. What do you think of guys who get perms? Comment below. Love to hear your comments.